Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is John Campea, and this is a companion video. Now, what is a companion video? Well, I'm glad that you asked. You see, every day on the John Campea Show, we take live questions, but we don't always have time to get around to all the live questions that get sent in. But I want to make sure those questions get answered, so we bring them over here and address them on companion videos. Now, we're actually a day behind because I didn't get a chance to do yesterday, so we have Tuesday's companion videos and today is Wednesday's leftover questions to get to. So let's buckle up, dig in, and let's get right to it. And we're going to start getting caught up with the first one from Mighty Thanos, who writes, "Oops, looks like I snapped some of the awards away." Of course, talking about the whole fiasco going on with the Oscars. You know, moving. I'm fine with the hair and makeup. I'm fine with short live. But if you need two more, why not short documentary? Why not short animated? Why not one of the other words? Cinematography and editing, one of the stupidest things ever. Anyway, Angry Irish Benjamin writes, maybe Lego Movie 2 is doing poorly because Warner Brothers overestimated the strength of its brand. It's not like the first movie made Avengers money did it. I disagree. I don't think Warner Brothers overestimated the strength of the brand. Who cares about the brand? The first movie came out and did pretty good business. More importantly, everybody loved it. Everybody loved that first Lego movie. They loved it. It stands to reason that if you do a sequel, you should be able to do pretty much as well, not have the sequel come in 50% lower. And that's a mystery to me. Maybe they waited too long. Maybe they shouldn't have put out the Ninjago movie. But, you know, same thing with the Batman movie. Lego Batman was great. So you had the first Lego movie, great and beloved. Critics, audiences, everybody loved it. Then you put out a Batman movie that is just as good, but it takes like a 30% drops in box office. And now you put out the sequel to the original, and the films have all been good in the franchise, and it drops by half. More than half the opening weekend drops from the first one. I don't think that has anything to do with Warner Brothers overestimating. Like, that's not cause and effect. That's effective effect. What you're proposing here, Angry Irish, isn't cause and effect. That's effect and effect. Cause and effect saying it did poorly because this caused it to do poorly. Warner Brothers overestimating it doesn't cause it to do badly. You know, the only way that happens is if they undermarketed it. They didn't. They marketed it. I mean, it's a mystery. I don't have the answers either, brother. I mean, I just don't know, but it is a bit of a mystery. All right. Best D14 writes, the team will go to various points in time from the movies to change outcomes of events. New York, Sokovia, and London. Ultron will be in a scene like Red Skull, but in order to make the change permanent, they need the gauntlet. I don't know. See, that's the thing, Best D. Everybody, including me at one point, believed that the crux of Avengers Endgame was going to be time travel. That time travel was going to be the thing. And it very well may be. It very well may be. I'm not so sure that that's the case, though. And beyond not being so sure that that is the case, I actually hope it's not the case. To me, time travel is a lazy man's device. It's lazy. It's nothing but lazy. We've created a complicated problem. How do we solve it? Time travel. It's the lazy man fallback. Now, again, I've said this before. I'll say it again. There are a couple of great examples of films that use time travel really well. Star Trek: The Voyage Home, Back to the Future. There are a couple of films that use time travel really well. But there's also many, 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 many films and TV shows where time travel is just a get out of jail free, lazy man, cop out sort of thing. Because really, any movie that has a problem, any movie you can fix with time travel. Time travel fixes everything. You can fix any problem with time travel. So to me, it's the lowest common denominator, gutter, poor man's excuse of a get out of jail free card. So I hope they don't. Now, if they do, hey, there's a possibility they could use it great, like Star Trek 4, like Terminator. There's a way you can do it, and it could be magnificent. I'm not saying if they use time travel, that means Endgame's a lost cause. Not at all. I'm just saying my initial reaction is going to be pretty big disappointment because any movie can solve their problems if they bring in time machines. That solves everybody's problems, right? So it's lazy. To me, it's lazy. All right. Next up, Kobe Harris writes, have you seen the new Tolkien trailer? Yeah, as a matter of fact, on the John Campea Show earlier today, we did talk about it. It's not a great trailer in the sense that I have no sense about what this movie is. All I know is that it's about J.R.R. Tolkien, the guy who authored the Lord of the Rings books. That's all I know. I have no other sense about it. So it's exciting on the one hand to see it finally coming out because, as we talked about on the John Campea show earlier today, the Tolkien movie is a movie that's actually been completed for a while. It's been completed and been sitting on a shelf for a while. And we actually started speculating and wondering, hey, is this movie ever even going to see the light of day? Is this movie ever even going to come out? Because we weren't sure it was. So I'm just happy to see it's coming out. So I'll say that much. Best D14 follows up with John will kill the Night King, or Jon Snow, you mean, will kill the Night King but die. War does things to us. She wants to break the wheel and create a new world. She burns the throne and leaves Tyrion in charge of creating a democracy. Yeah, I don't think so. That's a little too neat and tidy with our modern day sensibilities, tidy little bow on it. Leaves it in a democracy. I don't see that happening. Don't get me wrong. I'm not suggesting that's a bad idea, but I just don't, from what we've seen from Benioff and Russ, what are the names of the guys? It's Benioff and I forget the other guy's name. Anyway, that just doesn't sound like something they would do. Now, it could be. Maybe it is. I'm just saying right now it doesn't sound like what they would do. It just puts a little too tidy of a bow on it with our sensibilities, as opposed to the sensibilities of Westeros, right? So, I don't know. I still kind of see Tyrion sitting on the throne at the end. I just kind of see him sitting on the throne. All right. Serge Vasiliou writes, on one of your companion videos, you mentioned that Disney movies led by white males. But John, Infinity War was led by a purple nutsack for a chin having Mad Titan. Well, acted by a white dude. Yeah, so what he's talking about is, I will often make fun of these morons who say, there's an agenda out there. Look, they're doing this Captain Marvel movie. They're just trying to push a feminist agenda. Look, they got Black Panther movie. They're just trying to push a diversity agenda. Time out. So one female-led movie and one black actor-led movie equals agenda. Okay. What do you call the previous 20 movies in a row that they did that were all white male leads? Was that an agenda? Now, I don't think it was an agenda. I don't. That wasn't an agenda. But if using your completely fucked up, stupid logic, if doing one female film means they have a feminist agenda, then why doesn't having 20 straight white male lead films equal agenda? Oh, because you're the one with the agenda. I get it. That's the only thing that makes sense. Usually when you see people crying agenda about movies, 7 times out of 10, that's the person with the agenda. That's just what I've found. Your experience may differ from mine, but my experience has been whenever I see somebody going, agenda, usually they're the ones with the agenda. Because if you want to look at it evenly, if you're going to say that one female-led superhero movie means Marvel has a feminist agenda, then you have to say that when they did 20 straight white male lead movies, that meant they had a straight white male lead agenda. They didn't, but if you're going to follow that stupid logic, that's what you're left with. Anyway, okay, but I know you're just joking around. But it is funny that even in that situation, it's being acted by a straight white male actor in Josh Brolin. All right, Catholic Jack writes, who gets the Oscar first, Jake Gyllenhaal or Ben Foster? I think Jake Gyllenhaal. And I'll tell you what, I think Ben Foster is every bit the actor that Jake Gyllenhaal is. I'll say that straight up. I think Ben Foster is every bit the actor that Jake Gyllenhaal is. That's how good Ben Foster is. But the reason I will say Jake Gyllenhaal is because he's in a better position in his career right now, and he's getting the bigger opportunities. Because of that, I would guess that he'll probably get an Oscar first. I don't know that either of these guys will ever get one. It's tough to get an Oscar, but I'd guess him over Foster. All right, Dan Ketchum writes, would love for Apocalypse to be Phase 4 Big Bad. But, really? Oh, wait a second. Apocalypse. I was thinking, my apologies. I was thinking Thanos, whatever. I don't think so, only because Kevin Feige has been in the planning stages of his Phase 4 forever. long before there was a Fox Disney deal, and there still isn't a Fox. Remember, people, this Fox Disney deal still isn't completed. Still not done. And I'll tell you what, Kevin Feige's already thinking of phase 5. Like, that's his job. His job is to think that far ahead. I guarantee you all of his phase 4 movies are already planned out. Kevin Feige right now is sitting in his office somewhere in Burbank thinking about phase 5. So I'm not saying it's not going to happen, because anything is possible in this business. But because of that, I would doubt that's going to happen. But hey, you never know. I love Apocalypse. So I would love to see him. I just don't think we're going to see him that soon. But that's what I think. All right. Hector Jeter writes, saw a fan event for Alita in Dolby 3D. I don't like 3D, but my God, one of the best visuals I've ever seen. Pure action and breathtaking to look at. You know what's funny, Hector? Now, I haven't seen the movie yet myself. I'm probably going to try to sneak out to see it tonight. I haven't seen the movie yet myself. But everybody I've listened to who've said they've enjoyed the movie, none of them have talked about the acting. None of them have talked about the story. None of them have talked about narrative. It's all been, the action's insane and it's really cool to look at. And hey, I like my share of movies that have nothing going for it but that stuff too. I was just, with Alita Battle Angel, I was hoping for more. But then again, I haven't seen it yet myself, so I'm going to go out and see it myself. But I'm hearing from many people that they think it looks awesome. And you can tell that from the trailers, for, notwithstanding that first awful trailer. But you can tell from the trailers that the movie was going to look pretty damn good. All right, Jar Jar Binks writes, Misa been chosen by the Academy to host the Oscars. Misa, yay! Yep. And then, 1 week before the Oscars happen, a story will break. 20 years ago, no, it wouldn't have been 20. It would have been 18, 17 years ago, we've uncovered footage of the fact that Jar Jar was actually the one who brought the motion to government to give the chancellor increased executive power, leading to the empire. Yeah, and they'll all hop over him. Misa been chosen by the Academy to host Oscars. Misa, yay! That's awesome. All right, Hector Jeter writes, thank God Alita was pushed back to this year. Oh yeah, now look, they're not predicting big box office. They're predicting like 25 million opening weekend. Flop. But I'm going to tell you right now, would have made less. If it opened in that Death Spiral weekend that you had, there was Spider-Man in the Spider-Verse, there was Bumblebee, there was Aquaman, like, it would have made less than 25 million. I'm going to tell you that. Whatever amount of money Alita makes now is more than it would have made. It's more than it would have made. Much like the opening weekend that Aquaman had would have been more. It would have had a bigger opening weekend if it opened any other time. But they opened it when it did, and in the long term, it played out pretty well. But I still think it would have made more. But however much Alita Battle Angel flops, it would have been worse. It would have been worse. So I completely agree with you, Hector. All right, Toonie2 writes, I watch Alita tomorrow. I hope it's great. I read the manga, Eagles Japanese comic book, 20 years ago and still love it. See, and that's why, Toonie, that James Cameron has been talking about doing Alita for like 15 years. I remember reading about him talking about wanting to do an Alita Battle Angel movie since before I was doing the movie blog. Well, maybe not before the movie blog. Maybe like while I was doing the movie blog. But at any rate. And we've been waiting forever. And so I was really disappointed. After waiting over a decade for James Cameron to finally get Alita Battle Angel going, when I found out that he wasn't even going to direct it. It was going to be directed by Robert Rodriguez, who has not done well recently. He's made some great films in his career, but really not well recently. And I was very disappointed. But the trailers have looked great, so I'm anxious to see it myself, man. All right. YTA2513 writes, saw Alita yesterday, thought it was pretty good. Gonna see Happy Death Day to You tomorrow when fighting with my family Thursday. Thank you, A-List. Yeah, it's really cool. I'm gonna go see me and Anne and Ray. We're gonna go see Fighting with My Family on Friday with Paige. Yep. Yes, the WWE superstar Paige. She's gonna be there. The one the movie is about. She's gonna be there doing a Q&A after the screening on Friday. So I got my tickets to that. I'm very excited about that. and I'm hearing great things about the movie. I'm excited to see it. You know, Vince Vaughn's in there. No one is even talking about Vince Vaughn, the fact that he's in this movie. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man. I can't wait to see it. And I hope to see Happy Death Day to you tomorrow. And hopefully it's as good as the first one. All right. Alex Perez writes, John, I love the passion you give to the over-under questions. Like, if it actually matters if your answer is wrong. Well, hey, look, no, I take my movie questions passionately and seriously. I mean, it's just movies, but within the context of understanding that it's just movies, I take it very seriously within the context. And yeah, so when somebody poses to me an over-under question, I like to give it a thought because we all like to be right. So I want to give it a thought and won't always be right, but want to think about it and give my answers. And yeah, I like playing over-under. What can I say? Let's see. Andrew Jones writes, Hi, John. I am unable to send message from my other account. Please help. I am sorry, dude. I'm not YouTube tech support. I am the wrong guy to ask. I wouldn't know how to help you with that. My apologies, Andrew. My best suggestion is to find a YouTube help page and see if you can get your question answered. All right. Murray Reich writes, Curtis, actor from Arrow, left the show after last night's episode. Yeah, we had him in my studio before as a guest on the Arrow After Show once with Ann. He left the show last night. Then I saw that Cisco may leave The Flash after season 5. Yeah, which, look, I like the Curtis character. I do. But it's not like he's one of the core characters, right? Your core characters are, like, going back to season 1. It's obviously Oliver. It's Diggle. It's Felicity. That's your core characters. And Curtis has been a very nice supporting character. But I honestly don't think it's that big of a deal. Cisco, though, if Cisco Ramon leaves Flash, that's a big deal. He is part of the core heartbeat of that show. He was on that show from season 1, episode 1. I mean, and an important part of that. I mean, it's Barry. It's Snow, it's Ramon, and it's Iris West. And Joe, you can throw Joe in there too. But for him to leave the show would be terrible. I would hate for him to leave the show. I think he's one of the most enjoyable parts of that show. And it would be a blow, man. It would be a blow if he left that show. The Chum Bucket writes, Anna and the Apocalypse is out on DVD/digital. Saw it twice in theaters. Fun mashup, darker than I expected. Did any of you catch it in theaters? I didn't catch it in theaters. I didn't, which is really weird because every once in a while, like, I don't force myself like I used to go and watch every single movie. But it still happens that once in a while, there are movies that I'm really curious to see that I just don't get a chance to see when it's in theaters. But I've had a number of people tell me to check it out, and I'm waiting for it to become available, and I'll be checking it out then. Josh Zhang writes, better movie, Quiet Place or Logan? Logan's the better movie. Like, both of them, I believe, were the best movie of their respective years. I thought Logan was the best film of 2017. I thought A Quiet Place was the best film of 2018. But I believe there was a much wider mark. I thought Logan was by far the best film of 2017. By far. I think Quiet Place is the best film of 2018, but by a mile? No, not by a mile. But it is still my number one film of the year. To me, Logan was the better film. Yeah, so there's that. Frost, 1977 writes, Will's genie makes me think of Blueberry Girl from Willy Wonka. And best thing about any Super Bowl, once it's over, opening day at ballpark isn't far away. Ugh. I hate baseball. I don't, everybody gets mad at me when I say it, but you brought it up. This isn't me, Frost. You brought it up. I don't even consider baseball a sport. It's a depressing day when the Super Bowl's over, man. It's just like, where's my football? There's still basketball on and hockey is still going. That's important. But there comes this real dark season when there's no football, no hockey, and not even any basketball, and it's just baseball. I can't even watch ESPN. Because all it is baseball. And the pitcher pitched, and the hitter hit it. And then the pitcher pitched, and the hitter swung and missed. I don't know. That's just me. I know there are many, many big major fans of baseball. I do not mean to offend. I'm just saying, for me, I don't even consider it a sport. Matt Gilliamet writes, There's a big snowstorm, and I am at Timmy's. That's Tim Hortons for my American friends. I'm at Timmy's with a Boston cream, best donut in the world. The Tim Hortons Boston cream donut. Not anybody else's Boston cream donut. Tim Hortons makes the best Boston cream donut in the world. Anyway, I'm at Timmy's with a Boston cream. Well, can I find a hot toy of John, Robert, and Ashley? Love your team there, John. Well, thank you so much, Matt. I have a good time with the team I have right now. And look, who knows how long Robert will be on my show? I mean, he's still a working professional in the film industry. Tomorrow, he could get contracted to be the cinematographer, maybe director or an editor on a significant movie project that will take up his time. Ashley is an actress and a model, and she's a working actress and model. And it's just a matter of time till she gets picked up for a series or whatever, and she won't be able to be on the show anymore. So I am just grateful for the time I've got with Robert and Ashley right now, and we're making the best of it. And as long as maybe we'll have them for a few more weeks, maybe we'll have them for a few more years, but I certainly enjoy working with these two very, very much. I'm very lucky. Sin Vendetta writes, there we are. Robert, there are still movies I do buy physically, and the biggest one is Lord of the Rings Extended Edition box sets. I have them on DVD and Blu-ray, but when are we getting them on 4K Blu-ray? Well, obviously Robert's not here, and I'll tell you what, Lord of the Rings is one of those films that I still have physical copies of. Specifically, even though I've transferred almost all my other movies, including my Star Wars movies, I've transferred almost all my other movies to digital, to just watching, having them on my online thing. Lord of the Rings is one I still have, mostly because of the insane special features. Say what you want about the Star Wars prequels, but the Star Wars prequels and the Lord of the Rings films are the best bonus DVD, Blu-ray features you will ever find. They are the best. And I don't even like the prequels, but the behind-the-scenes stuff and the bonus material stuff is insanely cool. As well as Lord of the Rings, and that's why I still have Lord of the Rings stuff. When is the Blu-ray? I didn't even know there wasn't a 4K Blu-ray, so I gotta assume it'll come at some point. Nicholas Lim writes, thoughts on Danny Boyle's Yesterday trailer? Oh, I liked it. We talked about it on the John Campea show earlier this morning. It's a good trailer. I wasn't all that interested. I thought the project sounded relatively interesting, I guess, but then I fell in love with the trailer, and the trailer did the job of a trailer. I went from being meh on seeing it, then I saw the trailer, and now I'm like, I cannot wait to see this movie. I thought it was really good. Santez Henderson writes, went to a John Williams celebration this weekend. Jaws being played live was a terrifying experience, but the indie theme always makes me want to adventure. Now, was that a John Williams concert or a John Williams celebration where they just played the music of John Williams? Because it's different things, believe me. Every year in Hollywood, John Williams does John Williams in concert, the maestro of the movies. And he plays it once a year. And it's always, Ann and I have gone 5 years in a row to this thing. It's always an experience. It's always amazing. And I love it. And even though whenever they start to play the Star Wars stuff, the whole audience will break out lightsabers, I still think the biggest reaction comes when a lone horn starts to play. And everybody in the crowd goes, like they lose their minds. Like Star Wars is the thing they're there to listen to. But I'm telling you, when that Superman theme starts to play, the place loses their minds. It's an incredible experience, and I hope that was John Williams. But even John Williams wasn't there. I'm sure just being there with a live orchestra doing all of his music must have been a great experience too. So thanks for sharing that, Santez. All right. Carlos Rojas writes, hey, John and Robert. So Robert's not here clearly right now. So I saw Alita last night at an early screening, and I liked it a lot. Action was good. Also watched in the AMC Dolby 3D with new clear glasses, and it looked great. Well, I hate 3D. But again, another person saying, I liked it. And all they mention is the action. No story, no acting, no dialogue, just action. Which again, I have a number of films I really like just because of the action, so there's that too. But I hate 3D. To me, 3D is a useless gimmick. I cannot wait for it to die. Die and go away. Or evolve. Like, hey, talk to me again. Once they figure out a way to do 3D without glasses, you've got my attention then. As long as I have to put tinted film over my eyes, no bueno. No bueno for me, but I'm glad you liked it, Carlos. All right. Let's see. Infinite Games writes, greetings, John, RMB, and Ashley from Saskatoon. I lived in Saskatoon for like 6 years. I enjoyed Saskatoon. I lived right by just about a 15-minute walk. Do you know where Circle Drive Alliance Church is? The big church there on thing. I lived like a 10-minute walk from that on the interior of Circle Drive. But I lived in Saskatoon for like 6 years. Last Wednesday, we were the coldest place on Earth at minus 53. Yep. Today is a toasty minus 45. So, how's California? Yep. I would tell people this, and they would never believe me. I'd say, first of all, Saskatoon, beautiful summers, wonderful springs and falls. But the winter? I remember my first year living there. We had minus 40. And by the way, for those of you Americans going, oh, but what's that in Fahrenheit? Like, I don't know, 8 in Fahrenheit? No. Minus 40 is where Celsius and Fahrenheit meet. So minus 40 in Celsius is minus 40 in Fahrenheit. So I would tell American friends of mine, my first year living in Saskatoon, we had a week or several weeks of minus 40. And they look at me like I'm a liar. They know there's no such thing. No human population could live. I'm telling you, that's what it was. And it was like, first of all, when you go outside, do you know what the weather would talk about? The weather would never even talk about, they would often give weather in time. It's like, well, what does that mean in time? Like they'd say, okay, and guys, today, the index today is 3 minutes. Or on real cold days, they say the index today is 30 seconds or something like that. It's like, well, what's that all about? It's the amount of time any exposed skin will get frostbite. So today's time is 10 minutes. Ooh, okay, so it's not that bad out today. 10 minutes, good. Today's time is 1 minute. Like, what? And they would actually get on the radio and talk to it in terms of minutes. That's how cold Saskatoon gets in the winter. Beautiful springs, gorgeous summers, like beautiful falls. But winter, woo! Winter was Hoth. You were living on Hoth in Saskatoon. All right, Santez Henderson writes, comic recommendation, Spider-Man Blue is a heartbreaking story of Peter remembering his time with Gwen before her death. You'll love it. It will bring tears. Cool. I've actually never heard of Spider-Man Blue, to be straight up with you. That's really cool because I've got, obviously, my Comixology app on my tablet, and I'm always looking for a good thing to pick up and start reading, and I'll have to add Spider-Man Blue to my list. Thank you so much, Santez. Robert Tari writes, my prediction for Disney box office in 2019. Number 1, Lion King. Number 2, Star Wars. Number 3, Endgame. Number 4, Toy Story. Number 5, Frozen. Number 6, Captain Marvel. Number 7, Dumbo. Number 8, Aladdin. Number 9, Artemis Fowl. I think your thing is pretty close to mine. The difference is, I do not see Endgame making less than Star Wars Episode 9. I can't see that happening. Not when we're right on the heels of Infinity War. Not when we're right on the heels of Infinity War. I just don't see it. I don't see it. So there is a chance Lion King comes number 1. I believe there is a chance Lion King makes more than Endgame, more than Star Wars, more than any of them. But if I had to put $5 on it, I would still put my $5 on Endgame being number 1. All I'm saying is that let's not die of shock if it ends up being Lion King. A lot will depend on how good Lion King is, so we'll have to wait and see. Toy Story 4, yep. By the way, Toy Story 4 could pass Star Wars as well. Maybe. But I like Toy Story 4 in the 4 spot. Frozen in the 5 spot, I like that. Captain Marvel in the 6. The only other thing I would switch is I'd swap Aladdin and Dumbo. I think Aladdin's going to make more than Dumbo. And then Artemis Fowl, I think, clearly comes up the rear in 9th. So, yeah, with a couple of minor changes, I think your list looks very much like mine. So, let's see how close either of us are. Ryan Lohner writes, can Netflix just put Punisher out of its misery? Oh, and I honestly don't know what the delay is. Maybe they just heard everybody like me saying, you know, they're just going to cancel Punisher like a week after it debuts. And maybe they're just like, in spite of us, playing it close to the vest. I think it's already been canceled. They just haven't announced it yet. So, but yeah, sooner the better, in my opinion. Corey Skibba. By the way, I still haven't watched Punisher Season 2. I got to get around to watching that. Corey Skibba writes, the Tolkien trailer just dropped and looks great. I don't think it looked great. I think it's a movie that it's a trailer that told us a movie's coming out about J.R.R. Tolkien. That's all it did. I know nothing else about the movie. Not a scrap iota. I have no idea what even the feel of this movie is going to be like. I have no concept of what the tone of this movie is going to be like. So I was excited to see the trailer because that means the movie's coming out. But I don't know that it was a good trailer. I don't know. I got to think about it more, I think. Nicholas Lim writes, Toy Story 4 theory. Woody leaves Buzz and gang to live a free life with Bo Peep, becomes real tearful and sad scene. Woody won't die and Buzz becomes leader. I don't know. I don't see them living self-aware lives away from their role as toys. I don't see it. So I'm going to keep my eye open for that, Nicholas, to see if that actually turns out, because maybe it does, but I wouldn't bet on that. I just don't see Bo Peep or Woody leaving the gang. I don't see them getting up and leaving them. Unless it's to go with another kid, but then that's not them leaving, that's another kid taking them. Other than that, I just don't see how that gets, how that plays out. Okay, here. Johnny Miha writes, have you seen Scott Adkins' Batman audition video? Yes. Look, I know everybody's going, oh my God, it wasn't that good. It wasn't that good. And now look, I like Scott Adkins very much, and I get excited when I see that he's going to be in a role, but is he an actor that if I was a producer, I'd feel comfortable putting him in some role? Yes, he brings a lot to the table. But to be frank, I've never seen him exhibit acting ability that would convince me he can carry a movie on his own. And like a Batman? No. He could do all the physicality of that, but any non-actor, you can find any non-actor who's a great martial artist or anything like that, can pull off the physicality of it. The question is, are they great actors? And I just don't think Scott Adkins is a great actor. I think he has a lot that he brings to the table that I, as a producer, would be very comfortable and excited to plot him down into some roles in my films. But the lead role, where his acting ability has to carry the film, I don't know. Like, you guys know I love David Bautista, but I don't know that I would do that with Dave Bautista either. I love Dave Bautista. And I would love to put him in almost any movie, but would I put him in the leading man role? No. Now, he does have a leading role coming up in a couple films, but they're comedies and stuff like that. So not a lot of thespian skill needed there. But Dave's getting better as an actor, by the way. God, I love Dave Bautista. Anyway, but I saw the video and I was not convinced that he can act good enough to carry a movie. Great martial arts could bring all the physicality, but a lot of people can get to physicality. Can you find a great actor? And I just don't think he's it. Static Skywalker writes, you guys seen the Scott Adkins, well, here we go again, seen the Scott Adkins Batman audition tape he made before Affleck got the role? Just watched it and wow, great pick for Matt Reeves. Thoughts? Nope, terrible pick. The guy can't act. No, that's being facetious. He can act. That's why I would put him, like Dave Bautista, I would put him in a lot of roles. But he does not have the acting talent to be the lead of a film and carry it. He doesn't. You may think otherwise, and that's cool. But you're asking me. And I don't think he carries that kind of talent. I just don't. He's not that good of an actor. Because I'll tell you what, if he could, he would be a big star already. Because that dude's got all the other gifts. He's got all the physicality traits, the physical traits. He's got the good looks. You know, he's even got a cool movie star name, Scott Adkins. This is a cool movie star name. He'd be a big star right now if he could, on that level, act. And I just don't think he can act on that level. So, no, I do not think he would be a good pick for Matt Reeves. To be really honest with you, I don't think he could. I would love to see him as in another role in the movie where not as much acting is required. But no, as Batman, no, I don't see it. Lou writes, did Mary Poppins Returns flop? Yeah, and it kind of, well, I mean, did it flop? Let me bring it up again here. Mary Poppins Returns box office. All right. So, in the grand scheme of things, it ended up making $336 million. Okay, so that's not bad. I don't know that it broke even. I don't know that the movie broke even. But I say at 336, that's enough to say it didn't flop. I will say that it didn't flop. But it may have lost money. May have lost money. And it wasn't good enough. I mean, there was a point that I thought, hey, look, Mary Poppins could long run. I mean, I knew Aquaman would do an opening weekend, but I thought long run, Mary Poppins will make more money than Aquaman. Because I thought Mary Poppins was going to be awesome. It's not awesome. It's not all that good. I had no desire to watch it again. Like, I went and watched it for the first time and like, there are good parts. There's one or two interesting songs. Where the Lost Things Go is a great song. I mean, that's the best part of the movie. But at the end of the day, it just was bad. And so I couldn't tell people to go see it. And I wasn't going to go watch it again. And it just didn't deserve to make any more than that. And that's just my feelings on it. You may feel different. That's totally cool. But that's just my feelings on it. DA298 writes, Stranger Things 3 effect, Far From Home opening weekend? I don't think so. We've seen other shows, like big shows, launch on certain weekends and it really not have that much of effect, if any effect. Because the reality is this. I can't remember which weekend specifically it opens, but guess what? Stranger Things is on my TV, one click of the remote away from watching anytime I want. I can start watching Stranger Things and see from Far From Home on the same day. I can watch Far From Home, come home, and instantly start watching Stranger Things. It's there, available to me 24/7. Will it have an effect? Well, yes, it will have an effect. Will it have a significant or relevant effect? I don't think so. I really don't. Okay. Rick and Man 85 writes, would be cool to see Gamora get the gauntlet and Thanos have to team with the Avengers, etc. I don't see that happening. The Avengers will not team, Thor will not team up with Thanos under any circumstances. Under any circumstances will Thor team up with Thanos. Also, I don't see how Gamora gets the gauntlet since Gamora is dead. And I have a feeling if she gets undead, at that point the gauntlet's no longer an issue. So I don't see that happening, but never say never in this business, man. Never say never in this business. All right. Senpaigar writes, do you think it would be a good or bad idea to do more comic-style costumes for the new version of the X-Men? I wish they would. God, no. No. My feelings on this are, there are some, Thor's costume translates great. There's something regal about Thor's costume on the big screen or from the printed page to the big screen. Iron Man translates great from the page from the printed page to the movie screen. Captain America looks great, especially. But now they did some adaptation with Captain America. So they did some heavy adaptation, but still that works. There is no universe in which Wolverine's yellow spandex will look cool on the big screen. Just won't. Now you may feel different, and that's cool. But if you're asking me, it will look utterly fucking ridiculous. Just dumb. And nowhere near, if you understand, like, think of Logan in Logan. Would that guy wear yellow spandex? No, he would not. Cyclops in the spandex bodysuit with it, I don't see it. Now there are there's a lot of different X-Men, and some of their costumes would look better in the big screen than others. But what I find is that a lot of people are usually talking about Wolverine, and I just think his yellow classic spandex, which looks great in a comic book, would look utterly ridiculous in live action. So I hope not. But that's just me. Don't worry, Senpaigar, though. Most people, I believe, in this situation would agree with you. All right, now let's move on to the next one. And the next one today comes to us from Aviator986, who writes, You guys seen Robot Jox? Oh, God, it's been at least 20 years since I've seen Robot Jox. 1989, starring Gary Graham, probably the first live-action mech film I saw and loved. Was it the first live mech film in the U.S.? I don't know that off the top of my head, Aviator, but I can't imagine, like, when you think about the year it came out, I can't imagine there was one before that. Like, and I think I remember, it was a long time ago, I think I remember going, oh, wow, we've never seen anything like this. Man, woo. Now, there were things like Guyver and everything, but those weren't like giant mech film. The Guyver, which, by the way, was with Mark Hamill, that wasn't a giant mech movie. I'm going to go out on a limb. I wish Rob was here right now. I'm going to go out on a limb, Aviator, and I'm going to guess, it's just a guess, but I'm going to guess that, yes, that was probably the first live-action giant mech film. I'm going to guess, but wow, that's a deep cut, Aviator. Deep cut, all the way back to Robot Jox. Kevin Bailey writes, what's the best and worst movie you've ever seen in theaters? Oh, that's too grand of a question, man. That's just way too big. You guys know my holy trinity of the worst films of all time. It's Highlander 2, Catwoman, and Battlefield Earth. That's the unholy trinity. And I've talked a lot about the greatest films of all time are Star Wars films, but other than that, that's just too big of a topic, Kevin. Static Skywalker writes, any chance Boba Fett shows up in Mandalorian? Tamara Morrison was in Aquaman, perfect age if he is indeed alive. Not expecting a main character, though. I don't know if he's the perfect age. I don't know that he's the perfect age. I'd have to sit down and do the math of it, and maybe he is. Regardless of that, I'm going to guess no. I think they're going to try to keep the Mandalorian separated from Boba Fett. I don't think they're going to be that... Hey, remember, Boba Fett's not even Mandalorian. Boba Fett's a clone of Jango Fett, who may or may not have been Mandalorian himself. I don't know what they say in the lore, but he may or may not have been Mandalorian himself. And Boba was a clone. He wasn't even Mandalorian. So I don't see any reason or why they would have him. The only thing that might suggest to me that there might be a slight chance is that we know that there's at least going to be an appearance of IG-88, but that might just be like a little bit of an Easter egg. I don't know. But I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to guess no. I don't think we're going to see Boba Fett, and I don't think there should be Boba Fett in this show. I think they should just focus on... I don't want any attention taken away, because look, if you bring Boba into that show, that's all anybody's going to talk about. Keep the focus on the Mandalorian. Keep it on your main character and move forward from there. So I'm going to guess no, and I hope they don't. But, I say that, but if I found out in episode 4, Boba Fett makes an appearance, I'm saying I hope that's not the case, but I'd be lying if I didn't say I'd be a little excited about that, but who knows, man, we'll have to wait and see. Good question, though, Static. All right, Ollie Killip writes, for everyone's benefit, why movie then food? Hashtag wifed. Well, I've explained this in the show a couple times, just quickly, basically this. If you go to dinner than a movie, especially if it's a first date, you're going on dinner, you don't have a lot to talk about, and then you're going to end your date with 2 hours sitting in silence together, and then, okay, well, good night. No. You go to a movie first. Now you have a shared experience, right? Something you didn't have before your first date. You now have a shared experience. Then, once you do the movie, then you go out to dinner, and now you got a starting point for your conversations, and then it rolls from there. Always, guys, late dinner, okay? Movie first, then dinner. Not dinner, then movie. Movie first, then dinner. Get that shared experience, and then go out for your date. Cinefinity and Beyond. I like that name. Teacher from Toronto here. Woo! Hope you're enduring the weather. 3 snow days in 2 weeks. And by the way, Canada, Toronto, Hamilton, they are not quick to pull the trigger on a snow day. You can have, believe me, I grew up there. You can have some pretty damn rough weather and never have a snow day. So for them to have like 3 snow days in 2 weeks, that's saying something, man. I hope you got good Netflix, some streaming, maybe some Blu-rays you love, and you're able to sit in and get caught up on some movies or TV shows, Cinefinity. All right. Benjamin Ogletree writes, do you think DC is making B superheroes for movies till finish trilogy of Wonder Woman and Aquaman, then reboot everything? No, that's a terrible, terrible strategy. let's invest and waste hundreds of millions of dollars for nothing. No, they're making movies that they think can turn out well, and they're making movies that they think they can have some success with. You don't just make filler movies. It's the better financial decision just to not make a movie at all. You don't just make filler movies. You don't need a filler movie in between Aquaman and Wonder Woman. So no, I don't believe they're doing that. It would be a terrible strategy. No, I don't think that's the plan at all. Kevin Bailey writes, in Age of Ultron, Thor's hammer slightly moved for Captain America. It was a great moment, man. You think Kevin Feige had plans at the time to have Cap eventually lift Thor's hammer in a later movie? If so, how epic would it have been to see that? There's a couple of problems with that. One, no, I don't think Kevin Feige ever did that with future plans. I think it was just a really fun moment to put in the film. And it was a great fun moment that only Captain America, amongst mortal humans, could even budge Mjolnir. We had all these other Avengers not even be able to get it to nudge the slightest bit. Cap grabs it, and it nudges. And it also set up a great visual gag for Thor, because the funniest part of that scene was the focal point, right? The focus point went from the nudge to Thor's face going, like he was actually, like, what the hell? Like he was scared that Captain was going to lift it. So, but honestly, that's all I think it was. It was all for that great moment. The nudge, which got us all excited that Captain America was the only one worthy to even budge that thing. And then the visual gag of the look of astonishment on Thor's face. I do not believe that had anything to do with future plans or anything. Now, look, I've said before, Kevin, I am on record. Captain America is my favorite character in the MCU. Not my all-time favorite comic book character. Probably not even in my top 5 all-time favorite comic book characters. But in the MCU, he is my favorite character. So if he were to wield Stormbreaker or Mjolnir or something like that, that would be really cool, I must admit. But honestly, nah, man, I don't think Feige had any plans for that. I think it was a great moment that was designed for the moment. And it was effective and great in the moment. Gave us a great thrill when it nudged and a great laugh with Thor's expression. And by the way, that set up another joke later in the movie when Vision hands Mjolnir back to Thor, right? So that set up another joke. And I really don't think it was meant to be anything more than that. And I think it was very effective and I think it was great. But as cool as it would be to see, I don't think that's what's going to happen. But who knows? Anything can happen in Endgame. All right, thanks for the question, Kevin. All right, Kyle Starr writes, will another Avenger show up in Captain Marvel? I don't think so. It doesn't make sense. Cap is on ice, so there's him. Thor hasn't come to Earth. Tony is significantly younger and certainly hasn't developed Iron Man. I mean, you might hear reference to the Starks. That could be in there. Maybe a cameo by a young Tony, maybe even a cameo for a younger Air Force cadet Rhodey. But it would, Widow would be too young. Yeah, I don't see how it would, considering that movie, I can't remember exactly the year it takes place in. For argument's sake, let's say it's 1993. Just for argument's sake, let's say it's 93. That's 25 years ago, 26 years ago. So I don't see it. I don't see it. But again, this is the MCU. I wouldn't put anything by these cats. Captain Marvel, Flerken, no pun intended. I wouldn't put anything by these guys. Anything is possible, but my guess would be logic seems to say no. But hey, let's wait and find out. All right. Pedro Augusto Marquez writes, as a Brazilian, I think the Oscars lost it bad when City of God wasn't nominated for Best Foreign Film. Well, I am never, ever, ever, ever going to get into the Oscars don't mean anything because this movie that I thought should have been nominated, I don't believe in that, I don't know why it didn't. I'll be honest with you. If you had asked me straight up, was City of God nominated? I would have said yes. So now I got to look it up. It was nominated for 4 Oscars. Okay, so here's the thing. It was nominated for Best Director, Best Writing, Best Cinematography, Best Editing. I guarantee you, if it wasn't nominated for Best Foreign Film, with the fact that it was nominated for Best Director, Best Writing, Best Cinematography, and Best Film Editing, it's an automatic it would have been nominated. There must have been a technical reason why it didn't, right? There must have been a technical reason why the movie didn't get on, because obviously the Oscars honored it with like 4 of the biggest Oscar categories: director, writing, screenplay, cinematography, editing. Those are 4 of the biggest categories. So clearly they were recognizing the brilliance of it. So it must have been a technical category. I wouldn't even worry about that, Pedro. Cameron Armak Kenkwi Modig writes, "Hey, John, do you think that the Highlander reboot will succeed? Because the older movies were considered failures except the original. Who knows? I don't even know if they're still making it, Cameron. I don't even know if they're still making the new... I mean, I know, what's his name, the John Wick director has been talking about it for years, but we've seen no movement on this project. None. So at this point, there's no point in us even talking about will it succeed. I don't even know if the movie's happening at this point. Now, let's assume the movie happens. Well, will it succeed has everything to do is how good is the movie and how good is the marketing campaign. The older films will have nothing to do with it. The success of them or the failures of them will have nothing to do with it at this point. Because honestly, there's a lot of people that have never even heard of the Highlander, to be honest. So I really think the past successes or past failures will have no bearing on it whatsoever. None. It'll all be about how good does this movie look, and then how good is the movie actually. How good does it look, and how good is it actually? And that will have everything to do with how good or how badly this movie does. But I really don't think past success, past failure, I don't think will play into it at this point. But again, Cameron, let's just get the movie made. I'm not even sure they're going to make it. I hope they do. All right. Ryan Trabuco writes, also, super chat, shout out to Ray and Jonathan. I always appreciate it. I know Ray and Jonathan appreciate it when you guys say, because these guys work really hard. And they do great work for me and great work for you. They work for you guys to try to make sure you guys have the best content possible. And they do the best they can to, even though Ray isn't working on this companion video, he designed the mortise. The mortise is the frame you see around me and all this kind of stuff. He designed the logo. He designed all this stuff. So Ray and Jonathan work very hard. We talk almost every day and we say, what is best for our viewers? What will give the viewers the best value? What will give our viewers the best information? What gives our viewers the best presentation? And they are completely focused on that, and they work for you guys. And I really love it when you guys recognize that. So thank you for that, Ryan. I appreciate that. Alan Gonzalez writes, will Endgame disappoint? Look, I'll tell you what, Alan. I'll tell you what. No movie since The Phantom Menace has the potential to disappoint as much as Endgame. It's funny because Robert Meyer Burnett even said on the John Campea show today, man, if Endgame isn't good, he's just going to get out of the movie business. He's going to move back to Seattle and take up knitting or something like that, right? When you consider how good Infinity War was, it's kind of the climax of the MCU up to this point. The last 10 years, 20 films, all great. Well, not all of them were great, but for the most part, it's all been great. And people love and blah, blah. I am telling you right now, there is no film that is more positioned to disappoint people than Endgame. Not since The Phantom Menace. And you can say, like, The Last Jedi had mixed reactions, but, even then, not everybody has been on board with Star Wars since the prequel, so you can't even say that. Since The Phantom Menace, when the whole world was ready to lose their minds for Star Wars coming back, no film since then, I believe, is positioned to disappoint as much. Now, to your question, will Endgame disappoint? I honestly don't think so. Look, we have no empirical evidence in front of us to suggest that. It's possible. Even Steven Spielberg has made a bad film. I'm looking at you, The Terminal. Even Steven Spielberg, the greatest filmmaker of all time, even he has made a bad film. So can this one be bad? Yeah, this one could be bad. Could be bad. Yeah, it's possible. But if we just want to look at the evidence that we have in front of us and the track record and the precedent up till now, Kevin Feige has navigated the MCU brilliantly. It's been a long time since they've had a disappointing one, a long time. The Russo's track record on the MCU has been Winter Soldier, Civil War, and Infinity War. You know, win, win, win. So I think it is highly unlikely. I believe it is highly unlikely that it will. However, again, let me emphasize this. No film in 20 years, because I got reminded today on the John Campea show that this year marks the 20th anniversary of Star Wars The Phantom Menace, which I'm like, wait a minute, what? It's been that long since The Phantom Menace came out? No films in the last 20 years has the potential to thoroughly and utterly disappoint its audience like this movie does. A lot of movies that we're excited about can come up and be bad, and we go, "Ah, man, I was hoping that would be good." This would be devastating. If Endgame is terrible, you know, I've seen movies that I've been looking forward to, like Assassin's Creed. I was so excited about Assassin's Creed, right? And it was god-awful, terrible. And I was like, "Ah, man, I was really hoping that would be awesome. All right, that sucked. Move on." You know, not a big deal. If that were to happen with Endgame, because our expectations, our hopes, our dreams for Endgame are so high. And like I said, Robert says it every day. If this movie disappoints, man, I'm just going to check out, man. I'm going to move out of LA. I'm going to go back to Seattle, go become a fisherman or whatever it is he says he's going to do. They will devastate people. So, but at the end of the day, Alan, I'm going to go back to that one thing. I don't think it will. We have a mountain of evidence to say we have all the reason in the world to be optimistic and very little evidence to suggest we should feel pessimistic. And on that basis, I'm going to say no, it won't. But oh my God, if it does, devastating. It's going to be devastating to people. All right. Lord of Thunder, Prince of Stars writes, I believe Hulk is going to have a crazy Avenger 4 moment. Dude, you and me both. I believe they have never in the MCU shown us the true Hulk. We got a glimpse of him in the Battle of New York in the original Avengers movie. Hulk smash. We got a glimpse of him. But I believe we've never truly seen Hulk. That theoretical, that there is no theoretical limit to his strength and power. That his physical strength only increases as his rage increases. We've never seen that yet. And I believe and hope that we're going to get that Hulk moment. I both hope and believe we will. Now, maybe we won't, and that's fine if we don't. I'm not going to leave the theater disappointed if we don't, but I hope we do, and I think we will. I think we will. Praise Kiergera writes, I know I asked you, John, but like to ask Robert the same question on if a Roger and Ebert at the Movies S show will ever be mainstream again. Again, sorry about that, Praise. Robert's not here right now, unfortunately. So, again, but you know what? I have talked to Robert about this. And actually, I brought up that exact question to him before. I mentioned your question. I said, you know, this question came in, asked about blah, blah, blah. And I can tell you that Robert was in absolute agreement with me. That just the era that we live in now, that before, back in the Siskel and Ebert days, you didn't base whether you liked a film critic on whether they liked the same movies as you or not. You liked film critics back then on how good are they at communicating why they liked it and didn't like it. And it didn't matter if you agreed or disagreed with them. You based the value of the critic on how effective are they, how entertaining are they, how educational are they, how perspective giving are they when they present their opinion. And it wasn't important about whether you agreed with the opinion or not. Today, totally different. Today it's, I didn't like your thing on that movie. You have no credibility. I'm not going to listen to you again. I mean, that's just the audience today. The audience today is, we only watch things that say stuff I already think. That's the audience today, man. I only watch stuff where they say things I already think. That's it. And because of that, I don't believe that in this era we can have a true Siskel and Ebert. Like the true mountaintops of like the banner bearers, the standard bearers of a film critic these days, because people, at the moment they say they like a movie that you don't, you're going to tune out. The moment they say they like a movie that you don't, people are going to say, oh, you're just paid off by the studio. And if they say they don't like a movie that you like, you'll say, you're out of touch. You don't know what people like. I mean, people are stupider today. We as a people are stupider, I think, than we were before. And because of that, no, I don't think we're ever going to get titans like Siskel and Ebert again. I just don't think we're ever going to get those titans again, because everybody will tune out of them. Too many people tune out of them the moment they say they like something they don't like, or that they do like something that they don't like. And then people will tune out. It's unfortunate. And I did, because I thought the question you brought up, Praise, was so interesting. Me and Robert talked about it, and he agreed with me. Like he sees things the same way as well as I do too. But I'm sorry that he's not here to answer it personally. Aviator 986 writes, Jared Leto's solo Joker film and Joker/Harley film ain't happening. Not surprised considering the new direction DC's heading with success of Aquaman. By the way, that's not a verified fact. Warner Brothers has not confirmed that. Where that's coming from is that there was a Forbes article that was talking about something else. And within that article, it was mentioned that it doesn't look to them like that Jared Leto Joker movie is still going to happen, or the Harley Joker movie, or some other things, by the way. But Warner Brothers hasn't confirmed or denied that at all. So I don't know if that's true. Forbes isn't exactly just some rumor mill, though. Like Forbes, they're not always right, but they've got a pretty decent track record of stuff like that. So I'd say there's probably something to it, but we can't say at this point that it's for sure. At this point, I would say it might still be happening, but now there's some doubts because a place like Forbes said they're hearing that it's not. So maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But you're right. If it's not surprising. Walter Hamada came in and changed a lot of things up, man. He set a new direction. He scrapped some things. He implemented some things, and it wouldn't be surprising. But at the same time right now, I'm not going to be surprised if we find out it is still happening. So for now, I'm still going to assume it's happening, but with the understanding of, hey, there's some fairly reliable ports out there that maybe they're not, so let's keep that in mind. But I'm not ready to say right now they're not happening. I'm not ready to say that at this point. But maybe we will soon enough. So it'll be a little bit disappointing if it is, because I like Leto's Joker. But if they need to move on, then they need to move on. All right. TJ Thomas writes, saw Alita on Monday, then saw Isn't This Romantic last night. Unlike the Rotten Tomatoes scores, I think Alita was better. But again, and I haven't seen Alita yet. The one thing that makes me a little bit pessimistic about Alita is nobody's telling me the movie's actually any good. They're just saying the action and visuals are great. And when I'm reading the people who didn't like, for instance, Dan Murrell, right? I respect Dan Murrell's opinion. And his whole stuff was not, action looked great. But it fails as a movie, as a narrative, as a story with dialogue and character and blah, blah, blah. And that's what's making me pessimistic, because all the people writing me saying to me they like the movie, they're not saying anything about the characters, about the dialogue, about the narrative, about the underlying foundation of the story. Nobody's talking about that. They're just saying, wow, it looks great. That's not always enough. It's not always enough. But remember, I'm not saying one way or the other because I haven't seen it yet. I need to go out and see it myself. As far as isn't it romantic or isn't this romantic, whatever, that just looks like pure straight up garbage to me. By the way, are you serious? It has some decent... Let me look this up. Hold on a second. Isn't This Romantic, Rotten Tomatoes? Because I think this movie looks like straight up garbage. I haven't seen it. It's got a 66%. Holy crap. And like Rolling Stone, like Peter Travers, who's actually pretty good dude, he liked it. Detroit News liked it. RogerEbert.com liked it. So I mean, I don't know. Some people say it's okay. 66, that's not terrible. Alita isn't all that far behind it. Last I checked, Alita was at 61. Let me just check that out for a second here. What is Alita now officially? Last time I checked, it was at 61, maybe 62. And it's 3%. It's at 59%. So still More critics liked Alita than disliked it. At 59%, that means more critics liked it than didn't like it. So they're roughly the same thing, but I'm surprised by that isn't this romantic, because that looks like straight up trash to me. But who knows? There are plenty of movies I've thought look like straight up trash, and I watch them and I end up enjoying them. Maybe Isn't This Romantic will be one of them. All right, Riley Lopez writes, what do you think about Netflix buying the rights to Narnia? Would you be interested in seeing a Netflix vision of Narnia? Thanks, John. Well, I mean, look, honestly, I never think it's good news to find out a movie's been dumped on Netflix. I never think that's good news, because for every movie I've seen, like Bird Box, which was pretty good. It wasn't great, but it was pretty good. I like Bird Box. For every movie I see, a Netflix original movie that I see like Bird Box that's good, there's about 40 that are trash that nobody talks about, right? 40 is exaggerating, but many. For every one that's good, there are many, many, many that's bad. And so I will confess a starting point of pessimism. It's weird. With Netflix, with series, I start at a starting point of optimism. With their original movies, I start at a starting point of pessimism, but that's been their track record. A lot of great series, some stinkers, but a lot of great series. Their original movies, mostly stinkers, with a couple of good ones. Roma is probably going to win Best Picture at the Academy Awards this year. I don't know that for sure, but I mean, I think that's the odds-on favorite right now. But yeah, I never get excited to hear something's going straight to Netflix. Never get excited to hear something's going straight to Netflix. But anyway, that's where I'm at right now. Alex Joveski writes, over under 5% Marvel ever brings in Raimi for Spider-Man. Oh, no, 0. That ship sailed. That's done. They're not going back to that. It's done. It's gone. There are very, very few things I'll ever say 0 on anymore, because I've said 0 sometimes in my career and been wrong, right? So most of the time now I'll say, hey, look, anything's possible. This could happen. Unlikely, but could, blah, blah, blah. With Sony bringing back Sam Raimi to do a Spider-Man 4 revival, that I will give the goose egg to. I will go out on a limb and say 0% on that one. All right, Magic K writes, in new Shazam trailer, Freddy said, just like Superman it. I don't know what we're talking about, but I mean, that if that's true, that wouldn't be surprising. Because, I mean, we've seen in the other trailer spots, I mean, they live in the DCEU. There's newspaper articles of Superman on the thing. There's the Batarang thing, or the Bat Ninja Stars, whatever we call them. The Bat Shuriken, if you will, sitting on the thing. So that he lives in the world of Superman and Batman. So it wouldn't be a surprise to me if that at all is said, because that just makes sense. Remember, Billy's foster brother is a superhero fanatic, right? So he knows all about the superheroes. He's all into the superheroes. So, I mean, something like that would just make common sense for him to say, I would think. Aviator986 writes, curious to see what Peter Jackson thinks of Tolkien. Also, why isn't he directing it? Why would he? If there's one filmmaker who understands Tolkien as Peter, I don't think that's necessarily true. I think there's a lot of people out there and people in filmmaking who grew up worshiping and loving the Lord of the Rings novels, and probably numbers of them who know Tolkien better than Peter Jackson does. Now, I love Peter Jackson. But just because he made Lord of the Rings doesn't mean he knows Tolkien better than anybody else. And I don't know what Lord of the Rings has to do with a biopic of the guy who wrote Lord of the Rings. So I would see no reason why Peter Jackson would direct it, nor do I think necessarily he's the best guy for the job. Now, that being said, Aviator, if they announced that a Tolkien biopic as directed by Peter Jackson was coming out, I would be very intrigued by that. And I would certainly think that's a decent fit. But by no means do I think he's the only guy who should do it, or that necessarily he understands Tolkien better than anybody else. There are some people who might argue that Peter Jackson fundamentally doesn't have a good understanding of Tolkien. Not me, but there are some people who would make that argument. So I just hope the movie's good. That's all I hope. I didn't think the trailer was terrific. I would at most say it was mediocre, but I'm just excited that the movie's coming, because for a long time it looked like it was never going to see the light of day. I thought it was just going to sit on a shelf for the rest of its existence. Javier Belmer writes, well, I do think it's going to be a fun film yesterday. Part of me is a bit hesitant. because it's the Beatles, one of my favorites. And I'll just be yelling, how dare you claim those songs as yours, LOL. But you know, here's the funny thing about that, Javier, is that I think that's probably what they're going for. I think they want the audience yelling at the screen, how dare you claim, the creativity of the Beatles. I'm not even a Beatles fan myself, but I think that's part of the design. And I think that's awesome. I tell you what, as a film goer, I love it when people in the theater are very passionate about what's going on the screen. So I don't think you have anything to feel sorry about there, Javier. And don't be hesitant. Go see that movie, because I think that's going to be one of the fundamental questions of the movie. How can I do this? Because clearly there's a discomfort he has, right? It's a wonderful what would you do kind of, and I love movies that really put the audience members on the spot. What would you do? Hey, look, nobody in the world's ever heard of the Beatles. You can play their songs and claim them as your own and become rich and famous, and nobody would be the wiser. What would you do? I love movies that put audience members in that kind of a situation. And I think it would be particularly appealing to those of you who are big Beatles fan, right? So hopefully, though, Javier, the movie's good. Hopefully it's good, because I thought the trailer was fantastic. I really did. And I wasn't looking forward to the movie before, and now I am. Okay, where I'm at here. Darren TB100 writes, addicted to Space 1999. Do I need to get help? Dude, when I was a kid, I loved that show. I would watch reruns of that show all the time when I was a kid. First of all, to this day, that spaceship of theirs, still one of the coolest spaceships ever. One of the coolest sci-fi spaceships ever. And for those who don't know anything about Space 1999, this is a very rudimentary explanation, but there's a moon base, right? And then something happens, and the moon gets knocked out of Earth's orbit and goes hurling off into space, and it's not near Earth anymore. So now you've got all these people on this moon base, with their troubles. So, and the ship was great. The actors were great. There was this female alien character who could shapeshift and all that kind of stuff. I love Space 1999. I'm glad you brought that up, Darren. Again, look up online. You know what? Let me just bring it up here myself. Hold on a second. Space 1999 ship. I can't remember the name of the ship. I think it was called the Eagle or something. Let me see. Let me see if I can find a good image of this, because it's totally worth it, because I used to love this ship, man. There it is. Oh, and I'm not getting it. Why am I not getting it? Hold on a second. Well, this is just a model. This isn't from the show or anything. This is just a model. But here's the model of it. Oh, man, I used to love that thing. I thought that was the coolest thing ever. I thought that was like the coolest thing ever. I really like that one. Okay, anyway, let's move on here. Mr. XVS writes, if there was ever to be a director who will revolutionize the film industry like Spielberg and others have in the past, who would it be? Nobody that I can think of today. Because unlike Spielberg did everything. He has made great films that are period pieces, dramas, comedies, sci-fis, adventure. He has done it all. Animated, you name it, he's done it, and done it with excellence. The same guy who made Indiana Jones is the guy who made Schindler's List, right? The same guy who made E.T. is the guy who made Saving Private Ryan. The same guy who did Jaws is the guy who made Lincoln. The guy who did Close Encounter. I mean, this is the guy who made Ready Player One is the guy who made Amistad. He has been able to do it all, and do it all with excellence. And to me, that's what separates Steven Spielberg even from some of the other greats. Tarantino is one of the greats, in my opinion. He's one of the greats. But there is a homogenous nature to the Tarantino. The Tarantino films, while awesome and excellent, but they are all cut from the same cloth. You can recognize a Tarantino film in a second. And that's a good thing. They're great and they're awesome, but not, he plays in his box, you know? He operates inside his comfort zone and does it exquisitely. You can even say that of Christopher Nolan. Again, one of the guys who I consider one of the greats. But there's a certain heaviness and theme and tone to whether his movies is a comic book movie or a sci-fi movie or whatever that kind of carry the same heaviness, same tone, same weight. Whether you're looking at Dunkirk, Inception, The Dark Knight, there seems to be, again, a certain comfort zone that Christopher Nolan has that I would love to see. That's why when people ask me, what kind of movie do you want to see Christopher Nolan do? I go, comedy. I would love to see him try comedy. Can he direct comedy? That's what I want to see. Or horror. Can he direct a horror? I would love to see him direct a horror. I think a Christopher Nolan horror film would be outstanding. But maybe an animated film. But comedy would be way outside of his regular comfort zone, right? And quite frankly, I see no directors today that have that quality. That can literally walk into any genre at any time and knock it out of the park with consistency and with insane excellence. I just don't see another director who can do that these days. So right now, Mr. XVS, I got to say none. Right now, I don't see them. If they're there, they haven't revealed their true depth of their talent yet. And we'll have to see how that all turns out. All right. Joseph Landy writes, John and Rob, should they have made Godzilla vs. Kong? Should have came out before King of the Monsters because it might be anticlimactic. Oh, I disagree. No. How can we say that when we haven't seen the movies? You're coming up with conclusions and what one movie leads to without even seeing the films yet. Kong vs. Godzilla needs to come out later. Look, we already know Godzilla's a franchise. So we know they're going to make more Godzilla movies if it's successful. So I really don't see there's anything anticlimactic. Look, we go to see a James Bond film. James Bond has been around for 25 films. And guess what? There's going to be more. We know James Bond is not going to die. We've known that for 25 films. Is it anticlimactic? No. It's about the story. It's about the movie. It's about the adventure. It's not about, oh, he lives or dies. That's not the question, whether he lives or dies. We always know he's going to live. That's not a question. And so I disagree, Joe. I don't know. I think they're doing the proper order. I don't think there was any reason to suggest or even believe for a second that Godzilla dies. No, to me, that does not make it anticlimactic at all. Any more so than, oh gosh, what's a show I like watching a lot right now? Well, look, like watching Sons of Anarchy. You never knew who was going to live and die in that movie, but you always knew Jax. Jax was the star of the show. It was his show. He was the main character. Until the series finale, which it didn't matter because it was the series finale, you always knew Jax was going to make it out, even if somebody pulls a gun on Jax. You never thought, oh my gosh, is this the end of Jax? No, you knew he was going to be back, but that didn't make it anticlimactic, right? So anyway, that's just how I kind of feel about that. All right, let's see. And the final question today, and then we're wrapped up on today's companion video, comes to us from the Andy X Show, who writes, who do you think should be Batman in Reeves' new adaptation? I was thinking Thomas Gibson from Criminal Minds. Guys, you all know what I'm going to say. I don't care. Andy Show, if you're relatively new here, the questions I do not take are, which actor should play this role? Because my answer is always the same. I don't care. There are about 40 actors out there who I think are good, solid, wonderful actors. And then it's up to the director and what vision the director has. By the way, you're matching Thomas Gibson from Criminal Minds when you don't even know the type of Batman we're going to get. So how can you say which actor would fit that role when you don't even know what the role is? Yeah, it's Batman, but there's many different ways they could approach Batman, which would make different actors a better fit. So to me, my approach to it is, I do not care as long as it's a talented actor. That's it. That's all I want. Talented actor. Then I just leave it up to the director because I don't know what the character is. I don't know how they're going to interpret the character. I don't know how they're going to portray the character. I don't know what the director has in mind for the character and the personality and the nuances they're going to bring. So how on earth can I possibly even guess what actor would be best for it when I don't know? Right? All I know is that I've got a certain bucket with about 40 names in it of really good actors that I would be perfectly happy if they picked Batman from one of those. And then I'd just be happy and trust the director that the director is making the best match and the best fit. Doesn't always work out. Certainly not. But that's kind of my thing. All right, guys. That will do it for this installment of the companion video. Thanks so much for being here and coming along with me on the ride. Do not forget, the John Campea Show returns again tomorrow with me, Robert Meyer-Burnett, and Ashley Whalen will be joining me as well. Make sure you come on by and join me for that. And also, hey, if you're watching this on Wednesday, there was no The Weekly Hero because we had a whole ton of stuff going on. The Weekly Hero will be tomorrow this week. So this week, The Weekly Hero will be on Thursday. Make sure you join Robert and I for all the fun stuff. All right, guys, that'll do it for me. Thanks a lot for joining me. My name's John Campea, and until next time, bye-bye.